All right. On today's episode of If You Want It, we have a very special guest, Lindsay Peregrine-Sheley, correct? Am I saying that right? Sheley. Jeez, I have been reading and pronouncing that in my mind wrong.
I know. It's all right.
Ever
but
since
I usually
you married
just
Tyler.
get called Shelly Peregrine.
Really?
People don't.
They do it the other way?
That's
Figure.
common, right?
They don't
Wait, no,
realize
it's
it's
normally the maiden then.
No, I'm
No.
saying like people
That is
think
how
that
she
that's
does
my
it.
last. People think my last name is my first name because they think it's Shelly.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. I see what you're saying there.
Yeah, Shelly.
We got a few things we want to talk to you about, but I tried to prep you as best I can. But what I usually like to do, especially with somebody that's from here, that's coming back on, I always like to ask this question a little bit. And there's a couple things I want to kind of talk through a little bit before we get into
Yeah.
the second half.
Yeah.
But you currently live in Bedford.
I do.
Actually, you know what? Here's what I want to do, because I'm going to be honest with you. I sometimes get confused between you and Lacey as to who lived where and why.
Okay, for a second I thought you were going to say you were get confused between the people. It's like, that's a little offensive since I used to hang out with you.
No. So, no. No,
Okay.
I just kind of what happened from high school on.
Okay.
I kind of can sometimes mix you guys up. So,
Yeah.
so you obviously went to college at Northwest, right?
did,
That
yep.
was after high school.
Yep.
And then, and here's what I'm going to tell you what I remember. You ended up in Arizona at one point, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of places in between there.
Okay, all right. So let's just do that. And
Okay.
So let's just talk about where you've been, and then I'll get to my question.
Okay. So, yeah, I spent 3 years in Maryville
Okay.
at Northwest. And then through, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So I ended up dropping out from Northwest, moved to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Then when Lacey graduated, obviously, she moved to Kansas City
And
to be with
you
me.
are 3 years apart?
2.
2 years apart,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So obviously that's probably why it's confusing, because we're always attached to the hip.
What'd you go to Northwest for in the first place?
I originally went in for early childhood education. No.
No.
That wasn't for you?
No. Because, by your second semester, you have to go into Horace Mann, and you have to start learning how to create lessons and curriculum. And I think I was paired with like a 4th grade class. And I was like, oh, God, I'm not cut out for this. 4th graders, bullies. They're mean. They look at you like,
All kids are mean.
they're like, do you know what you're doing here? No, so yeah. Anyways, switched my major a couple times, and then I was like, I literally don't know what I'm doing. I'm spending all this money. Dropped out. Moved to Kansas City. Completely transparent. Bartended at P&L. Like, I just, lived in the loft. I was like, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yep.
I ended up obviously getting tired of that lifestyle, and I landed.
Once you got, 24, 25, somewhere there, you're
No,
like...
come on, no.
Was it later than that?
No, I think I was about 22 when I stopped doing all
When
that.
you were doing
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And I ended up getting a job with Cerner as an adoption coach.
Gotcha.
And that's when you just travel 100%. You're never home. So I was all over the country as an adoption coach.
And what do you... Go ahead and explain what all you had to do during that, if you don't mind.
So when a hospital decides to take on an electronic medical record system, you have this whole process, change management, teaching, trainings, all of this
Gotcha.
to get them going from paper to electronic
Gotcha.
record base. So my job was basically being elbow support. So anytime a provider or nursing staff was using this, you're guiding them through the clicks.
Gotcha.
I was the bottom of the bottom there
Gotcha.
to start out with. So I did that for a year, and then I was like, okay, this is probably what I'm going to just stick with doing. I made good money at age 23 at this point.
And you're traveling.
Traveling 100%. And so I ended up going back to school, but online, so I could keep working. And I got my bachelor's in healthcare administration.
That is not what I thought an adoption coach was going to be.
Well, she works
That blew me away.
She works for Cerner. It's a software
It's
company.
a software
So
company.
basically, they're adopting their system.
Yeah.
Well, when you said adoption coach, I was like, oh,
You're like,
that's a
we're-
sweet job. And
Oh, it
then
would
you
be
hit me with that,
awesome.
and I was like, oh, snooze.
Jeez. But how long? I mean, you probably get stuck in one location for at least a week or more, right?
No, I mean, it could depend.
Yeah.
Like I was out in Louisville at one point in Kentucky for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So it could be, it could be all over.
Yeah. For semi-extended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up getting a contract out in Buffalo, New York. So I moved out there for a year.
I didn't realize that at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I lived out in Buffalo, New York for a year, and that's when Tyler and I started, dating. At this point, he's living in Japan, so
Gotcha.
he lives in Tokyo. I know.
What?
Yeah. So I went out there a couple times, or I guess I went out there for 3 weeks and visited him. And then when my contract was over, I then had to move to Seattle, Washington. So I lived out there then for a year. I worked at Madigan Army Medical Center. And at that point, Cerner has won the contract with the military at this point. So now I'm working for the Department of Defense, and I'm one of the 16 regional trainers for all of the military bases in that East Coast. So Tyler ends up coming home, and my contract now in Seattle is over. He gets PCS, which means you move stations, to Kirkland, which is in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yep.
So we were there for a year. That's when we got married, eloped, told nobody, by the way.
Why would you?
We got engaged. Ended up, I was like, let's just do this. So, got married, told everyone 2 days later. We did not have friends or family that were very happy with us.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Arizona. Mm-hmm. And then we were there for 4 years.
Yep.
That's when Lacey ended up moving out.
Yep.
And
of course, you got to spend time with Linda and Vernon when they were out there, I'm sure.
They were only an hour north, so we drove up there a lot. And then we had Amelia. Tyler got out of the military. And
he was in which branch?
Air Force.
Air Force, okay.
Yeah. He flew on C-130s, combat rescue. So,
Gotcha. Wow.
How long was he in Japan?
4 years.
4 years? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty
So while
amazing.
she was bopping around our entire country, he was hanging out in Japan.
He was just like, he got to go to, I mean, he obviously had to travel a lot too.
Yes. We got to make sure Guam stays defended.
Yes. He was in Guam quite a bit.
I'm sure that's usually pretty common.
Yeah. He was, yeah. So we've been all over. Very fortunate, but nothing compares to home, obviously.
So that's perfect. So you're back in Bedford, but you made it Maryville and then Bedford. Is that right, or did you go from Arizona to Bedford?
Yep. Well, no, we went from Arizona, lived in Kansas City for 2 years.
That's right.
And then that's when I started having all of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't call them issues. Life, right? And then I wanted to move home, and we knew, obviously Tarkio has a wonderful school district too, but Bedford, it's a pretty amazing school. It's one of the top in Iowa. So, and that's obviously where Tyler's from.
Gotcha. So he's from
Bedford,
or
he's from Bedford.
Okay.
Yep. That's where he grew up, graduated. A property came up, and that's where we're at now.
It worked out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's insane.
So that's great. Like, I was fortunate enough to travel quite a bit whenever I was young as well, doing what I do.
Yeah.
And it was pretty common that we would have to travel to rural areas because obviously wind turbines don't get built anywhere near cities most of the time because you don't want structures in the way. It needs to be kind of high elevation, wind and all that. And we would typically get sent to places that were kind of like we are here. You'd be anywhere from an hour to maybe 2.5 hours from some major city. So we could usually, like on the weekends, go to the major city, hang out for a while, and then go back to the rural areas. So it was kind of nice. You could see kind of real places that you would live, I would think,
Right.
And I got to tell you, there was very few places whenever I traveled that I thought I wanted to pick up from here and move to.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great to see them. It was great to experience them, but there was just nothing. I was like, why would I pick my life up and move to this other town that's maybe a little bit bigger but similar overall to mine? And my family's here and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think What's nice about obviously me working in the military, because I still do that part time.
Gotcha.
I don't travel anymore because I've got pretty bad anxiety about it.
And done with it, yeah.
Yeah, and but between my work and what Tyler was doing, we most of the time lived on base.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on a base, you have a school,
Mm-hmm.
you have houses. It's basically a little town.
Yes. Yeah, it's like a little
Barricaded
gated community. Yeah.
inside your bigger city. So it doesn't ever feel as,
Yeah.
city. And you just feel very protected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of almost made you feel like you were in a small town.
Yeah.
I mean, now that he's out, I think that's one thing we do miss is, we live in a
that-
small town, but like we live out in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere. Yeah. Where you were like in a small town that was secure inside. I mean, you could go, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we had a
anywhere
grocery
to
store. We had
yeah.
neighbors. The kids played together, and I mean, we're
Yeah.
only 8 minutes outside of Bedford, but
Here's one thing that I like to. So you've lived both places.
yeah,
What I get from family, friends, whatever, that have either not lived here or moved away and have forgotten, but like I constantly get this like, well, I don't understand how you do this out here. You have to drive 25 minutes to a Walmart. And I'm like, you have to drive 25 minutes to a Walmart too. You just went 3 exits down from your house.
Yeah.
I went to a different state.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, and I could find parking when I got there.
yeah,
You know, and they just, you know what I mean? It's just like, to them, they don't see that as a 40-minute, it's like they don't
yeah,
accept that it's a 40-minute round trip inside a small area of a large metropolis. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Whereas we go, I mean, yeah, I drive through 4 towns
Yeah.
technically that are half the size of that,
I
but
know.
we spend the same amount of time doing it.
Oh yeah,
Just
you
we
know.
don't have traffic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and no traffic, yeah.
that's
Maybe
what-
a combine every now and again. but-
yeah,
And that is annoying.
yeah.
But it's just funny to me. So the question I really like to ask, so you're back, you've traveled a lot of different places. You're living in Bedford, but I'm assuming you still come over here semi-often or not so much?
Come over here. I mean, it's an hour drive.
I know. There's no
And-
great way to get to Bedford either.
No. And
You got to go too far north, too far south, or across like Jay to Hopkins.
yes, yeah. Which I used to go that route until I
sucks.
discovered
Yeah.
the Clarinda route, and I was like, why haven't I been doing this all
This
along?
all- yeah.
No, but since I have to drive to Maryville every day, I
Mm-hmm.
think of like, okay, if I want to come over here on a weekend, like, it's just such a mental thing. It's like, okay, well, I've been driving to Maryville all week, and then now I'm going to drive an hour to Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I have the energy for it, sometimes I don't. But yeah, I have to drive to Maryville every day, and that's a
Yeah.
45-minute drive.
Uh-huh, yeah.
So it's a lot.
A lot, yeah. But what is it? So, like for me, when I leave and come back, or I'm here all the time, and so it doesn't seem to change a whole lot to me. How do you feel when you? Does it feel like it's just the same as you remember it whenever you do come over here and visit, or?
No. No. I'm such a sentimental person. I get so emotional so easily. And I remember when I first came back over this way, when we first moved home, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be here a lot more often. And, so when I kind of started exploring a little bit more again and like, showing Amelia things or Tyler things, it makes you emotional because it's like, this isn't the same at all. Like, it almost kind of makes you sad.
Sad, yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because you're little, and this is how I viewed Maryville, too. It's like when you're younger, especially you're in high school, and you're going on to college, and you're like, oh, campus just seems so big.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get onto campus, because, like, I do quite a bit of work on campus every now and then,
Yeah.
with the business and everything. It's not big at all.
Right, no.
But it's so comfortable. So it's almost like this makes me sad in a way, but it's also so comforting
Yeah.
because it's just like, I guess, because you're just used to it.
Right.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know, but when I first got back, I was just like, I mean, this is obviously the whole college stuff. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
What a great segue.
This is a good time to insert the commercial.
yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Well, it does it. We do it with software, but
Okay. Yeah.
but I know. So like we were talking to Dustin. He was back a few weeks ago because
Oh,
he moved to Puerto
really?
Rico a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Crazy.
And even for him, and he's been back and forth quite a few times since he left, but he said kind of the same thing. Like, it does feel like it changes a little bit when you're not here all the time. So that's why I like to ask that question, because I don't.
Maybe it's the people too.
Yeah.
Because you can go into Casey's and you can see people that you used to see all the time, or we used to run around together a little bit in high school, and
Yeah.
but it's almost
poor Lindsay.
Oh God, I know. I feel so sorry for myself. Great memories though.
Yeah.
And I obviously get to see Tyler all the time because he's in my family now.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
So that's fun.
That is handy.
But yeah, I think it's just also you just get to pick up where
You left.
you
Yeah.
left off. Like,
sort of. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, everyone has lives and kids, and you don't really truly know what's going on in everyone's lives, but it's still nice to know that you have
Somewhere to
friends.
go that feels nostalgic, or
That's the
what
word.
you're looking for.
That's
Yeah.
the word. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Inside Out 2 yet, wait till you see Nostalgia.
Did you finally see it?
Yeah, we saw it like the weekend it came out.
Oh, okay.
I took Simon and
I probably
I took
can't.
Simon.
The first one made me cry.
Oh, really? They're so good though.
I can't watch kids movies.
You can't. Is it too hard on
I
you?
cry.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this one time. Like, the older I get, like movies and stuff, news reports, things you hear, like just, you know what I mean? Like just bounced off of me, And once you become a parent, like I definitely, and I've talked about it on here before, but like even scenes in movies that I used
Spirit
to
of the
watch
heart.
and it used to not bother me, like still start to mess with me a little
Yeah.
bit more than they used to. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird.
Do you have
So.
kids?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I have
you just-
dogs.
They won't let him.
You just
Yeah.
you just wait, man.
Another one of me is going to be rough.
McKinley'd like to start thinking about that stuff, but he's like, no way.
I'm gone quite a
mean-
bit.
Yeah. It's hard. You and I kind of mentioned this out there with Mr. Staten. It's you literally your biology, your DNA, everything. It actually legit changes once you become a parent, even from a father point.
I will say one of the fears, and I've talked about this with, I know Dustin and Tim, I don't know if you were around. One of my biggest fears about having kids is because I know like when you give birth, when you first see the kid, it's just like a magical moment. I'm always worried like,
Imagine pushing that thing out.
well,
I can't.
I
I
worry.
don't even pretend to. I've never even once thought about wanting to do that. Not one time in my
When you
life.
see the kid, it's a magical moment.
At
yeah,
the
okay.
at the age of 14, I said, thank God I don't have to do that. Just by some luck of a lottery that I didn't end up being female.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I always think about like, what if I don't have that magic moment? And it's something like
Oh, no.
somebody said, I saw a movie or something or an interview where somebody said that when I was like 12 or something, and that's always been in my head, and it always bums me out.
Okay, so you know what you're doing to yourself. You're psyching yourself out. Like that's why you're like, I don't want to say you're putting it off, but I'm just saying like, that's like maybe an inner like you're scared that's gonna happen, so you're just kind of
Yeah,
like,
I am scared of that.
No.
That and being burned alive.
okay.
That does sound, or eaten by something.
I don't know.
That would be terrible. So, like, the Great Pyrenees ripped a bunny in half. Have you ever heard a bunny scream?
Yeah, it sounds
It's
like
terrible. Well, you were there, and then
Yeah, I
she
was
barfed
there.
it up
It
on the
was
porch.
gross.
Yeah, isn't that terrible? Like, wouldn't that be terrible if that happened to you? That sounds awful to me. But
I mean,
burning is a big one that I've always been like, "Ugh, I would hate that.
I almost drowned to death a couple summers ago.
Oh, my.
That was pretty bad.
wow.
Yeah, I was on a float trip and somebody,
I remember this.
somebody was like
I forgot.
drowning, and my girlfriend and I swam over to help, and somehow I like grabbed this girl, and she like pushed her hands down on my head, and I ended up with her feet on top of my head in the river, and my hands and feet and going up my legs felt like they were on fire.
Oh my gosh.
It was awful.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't know this person?
No, it was just a stranger. We were trying to be nice.
That's what you get.
Yeah, I learned how to
Super
mind
nice.
my business. I learned how to mind my business quickly.
So now you just turn the corner. You
Yeah.
deal with it on your own.
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Living East Coast and West Coast,
Oh.
which coast has the best food?
Oh my gosh. I'd have to say East Coast.
Oh yes.
Because
Yes.
I'm all about there for a little tiny stint too. I was in Maine. I mean those little tiny things. Oh, I'm a seafood junkie.
Yeah.
Sames.
So watching them actually do the process
Yeah.
and like actually eating not processed seafood. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
East Coast most definitely.
Lobster fan?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Lobsters are East Coast, and what, like, oysters are more West, I'd
West,
say,
yeah. Which is, that's
Well,
great too.
I've had pretty good like clams and oysters in
Yeah.
New York before.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could get them, but yeah.
Yeah. But, way up in there, Maine, that area is probably like the best. Like if you ever get a chance to eat actual seafood, go to Maine
I
Yeah.
so badly want to.
for sure. Yeah.
Oh, once this
Yeah.
hits $1 billion.
I prefer the East Coast too, honestly. I really did. I liked Philly a lot. I like New York City a lot. I've never been to Boston. I really want to go. I don't know if that's going to, I mean, it might, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. I'd like to go up to Maine. I'm trying to think where else I mean, I like Florida.
Baltimore
I
is
mean,
really cool.
yeah, I haven't
Baltimore's
thought
really
about
cool.
that, but yeah.
I spent some time in Baltimore. I did a random couple festivals while we were out there, out on the water, and that was pretty awesome. That's just one thing I think I'm kind of proud of myself for a little bit was when I did do all that traveling, I made myself go do stuff.
Go do stuff, yeah.
Even though you're working with a whole new set of people each time, if you're lucky, you're traveling with the same team. But I forced myself to go do things, even
Yeah.
if it was by myself. Geez, I remember when I was out in Seattle, I would go to the movies and eat dinner. I would go out to eat by myself.
Yeah.
I would do things by myself. I don't even know if I could do that nowadays. Like, I don't know if I could shut off the parent inside of me. I don't know if I could shut off anything to.
I used to be able to do the same thing, but I won't anymore. Like I don't even want to travel anymore, honestly.
No.
Like it and
Sounds exhausting.
well, even like sometimes we have to go to even like St. Louis, or I have to go over to Kirksville because now my company is out of St. Louis, and we have my site up here in Westboro, and then we have one over in Kirksville, and that's really all the traveling I have to do too
Yeah.
much. I occasionally have to go to a conference in like Texas or Florida or whatever. But I have gotten, so I used to do the same thing. I would make myself do a little bit of something, even if it was go out and eat. And
Yeah.
now it's just like, you know what I mean? And not only that, it doesn't bother me to go, but like I used to enjoy the
Yeah.
opportunities to go do these things. And now it's just like, I would rather be at home.
I would love to understand the science behind that.
How you flip flop.
Like how you I mean, nowadays I'm just so much into that kind of thing. I'm like I'm constantly trying to learn
Make
more
yourself.
about myself, learn more about how I tick or
I've given up. I just am who I am.
Well, I heard something the other day that was you're not an actual person. You're not an adult, full-grown person until you hit about 30.
Yeah,
And then the
believe that.
next 10 years after that, you're trying to figure out what kind of person you want to be.
I'd be, yeah.
And
Oh, God, it doesn't get better than right now.
then
No,
when
like-
you hit 40, it's like, woo, we've
Yeah.
got life figured out.
Yeah.
But
But you're too tired to do anything at
You're too
all. I mean,
tired
I'm
to do
already
anything.
getting too tired to do stuff. I mean, I can still do it, but
I
like-
would love to understand, I'm the same exact way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if I even get an opportunity to go out to Colorado Springs or sometimes, I have to used to go out there to the Air Force Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just like, this sounds awful.
yeah,
Like,
and
just-
like you spend way more time like, okay, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna do what the hell I need to do, and I'm gonna get the hell back home. You know what I mean? You know, like when you're younger, it's just like, I mean, I'll go out there and do what I'm supposed to be doing, but you already are making plans to do other crap.
it's
And
the energy, man.
yeah, it's like
It's the kids. They suck it out of you.
yeah, I've gotten to where like if I have to go to St. Louis or if I have to go to Kirksville, I'll drive back and forth,
Oh.
even though the commute's 5 hours or 3 hours. And here's the reason why. This is my reasoning behind it is I could spend that same amount of time in a hotel room by myself, which sounds terrible,
Yes.
or I could spend the same amount of time on the road back to my house where I actually want
Wanna
to
be.
be.
Yep.
And I will just get back at, like, and if I have to go, if I had to go, I wouldn't go back and forth like that to St. Louis. That's just far enough. It won't. But if I just have to go down there for like 4 or 5 meetings in the afternoon,
Yeah.
I'll get up early, drive down, and then still go home at night.
I don't blame you.
And then like Kirksville, anytime I have to go over there, it's back and forth anymore. I don't stay.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. And it doesn't, like I've been telling Kiefer, and I don't know how you feel about this, because since we're a year apart, it didn't happen to me at 30. I don't think. It was somewhere around 32, 32 and a half. Somewhere in that region is where I was just like, I'm done.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay,
and I
so-
have the most amount of energy.
Except for, yeah, he says
We
that.
should slap
He says
you.
that, but when he's gone like all weekend doing shows, I can't get a hold of him until Tuesday at noon because he sleeps all Monday.
Yeah. Well, I had Amelia when I was 28, but I think mine hit when I was 30.
Did it really?
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if it's different for women or your hormones
Men,
literally
yeah.
just do some weird shift thing. But when I hit 30, I was like, I'm completely honest. I spent 3 days after I hit 30 and I cried. Because
It didn't bother me at all.
I felt like I had just wasted my entire 20s, and I shouldn't feel like that because obviously
Sure
as I
doesn't
just-
sound like it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I just rambled off of all the places I was so fortunate to get to live and stay, but I think it was the leading up to when I decided to get my act together.
Yeah.
I did nothing but goof off and
Yeah.
I mean I look back now at the age I'm at, and I'm after all my therapy, I'm fortunate for the lessons, the cliche,
The
things.
experience. Yeah.
But I truly believe, like, I've learned so much about myself since 30 to where I am now.
You're not gonna stop.
I know.
And like we were talking about with Mark, you just like people are gonna try to tell you things, and you don't until you experience it. You don't know. I view life a little bit like a ViewMaster with way more frames in it.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like you really, the only clear picture you have is what's going on right this minute, right now, and you can click forward and backwards so far, and the images start to get blurrier and not as interesting when they're not in focus, and then you can keep kind of focusing farther and farther back, but less and less of the picture
I feel
is
like
there.
I should be like really right now to have this conversation.
You can say hi. We talk about
Okay,
weed on here
good.
all the
Okay,
time.
okay, that's good.
We're
Yeah.
not
You can cuss.
We're not supporters.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like I feel like I should be tripping.
He's straight edge because he's in a country band.
I'm not straight edge.
Yes, you
Oh,
are.
That's okay. You can be straight edge. No one will judge you. But I think I think that
I judge him.
that's a really that's a really good way to put it. As soon as you said that, like I forgot about those little. Like, you're talking about that click thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it just
God,
looks
you
like a
guys are
set
old.
of binoculars. But yeah, you don't even know what one was.
We had video games.
We had video games too, but ViewMasters were still prevalent whenever we were little.
Yeah, the animals and mountains. I remember those.
Just all
ones.
the little wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The more I think about it, that's more like I feel like how like at least
That's
memory
totally-
works a little bit. Yeah.
No, that's true. And I don't know if you know this. I'm a mindfulness practitioner.
Well, we're gonna get into that. So go
okay.
ahead and start.
Okay, well, yeah. So, yeah, when I hit, like, Amelia was 2 years old, probably. I just, my entire life, I never had issues with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Very fortunate. I think I may have had some anxiety as a kid, parents arguing, like that kind of thing, But
Right.
it was once I stopped breastfeeding Amelia, and I was very lucky even after I gave birth. I didn't have postpartum blues. I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys had any of that experience, but
Well, Kiefer certainly hasn't.
yeah.
You don't
but
know.
it was probably within 2 years I started having panic attacks. I was paranoid. I was anxious. There would be, like school shootings, something would happen and I wouldn't be able to literally move. I wouldn't take Amelia to school. At this point she's only 2. Like
Yeah.
and I'm coming up with all of these insane scenarios. And it would be so bad that I would be driving in Kansas City. I'd have a panic attack and I'd have to call Lacey. And at this point, she's still living in Arizona. She's got her master's in social work and psychology. And I'd have to have her calm me down.
Yeah.
And she's like, what's triggering it? What's happening? I
Of course
fucking
you don't
know what
know,
the
yeah.
answer was.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know what's happening, obviously. So I get into therapy, and they're doing EMDR. I'm doing the shocking in the hands, and I'm doing the ball moving, and they're showing me all these cards. And I did that for a while, and it wasn't getting any better. So I moved back up home, and started going to therapy in Clarinda, which I don't know if you guys have heard much about the
I have.
mental health clinic in
I've heard
Clarinda.
it's very well run.
Wow.
Yes, I've heard it's very, very good.
Amazing.
I lived in
Yeah.
Clarinda a couple years ago. Not familiar.
It's by the hospital.
Yeah, it's by the hospital, and like I know, like I don't think this is gonna hurt anybody's feelings, but like Kim Schoonover's involved, and I think that's part of why she's selling her house because she's going back and forth or something. Yeah, and I shouldn't, like I said, I don't want to spread anything that's not true, but we've been looking into it recently because we had kind of a family issue where we need somebody that needs some therapy, and there's not a lot around here for us, and Clarinda is supposed to be one of the best.
Wow. I can't talk enough good things about that team, except for one person, but
Tell us.
So anyways,
First, last name, and address of that person too.
Phone number, title. So get into Clarinda. That was my first step.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got to figure out what the hell is going on with me. It gets to the point where you're getting scared. You're not understanding what the hell is wrong with you. I don't know if I'm, not parenting correctly. I guarantee you I wasn't a great wife at the time. And they instantly took me. There really was no wait, but it was with a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
And I was a little weary with that at first, and but I was desperate. So I just went for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of where all the bad started. You're going into thinking, this is going to be a great experience. With that particular person, it was not. She actually ran several tests on me, did all these things, came up, I was bipolar.
Okay.
I was like, oh, shit, that's not good. Like, that doesn't sound...
I think it's a lot more common than we realize.
Well, and she's naming off all of these impulse things, or like, well, how were you as a kid? What were you doing in college? And how were you filling your voids? And it's uncomfortable, especially when you're filling with not great things.
Right.
And, you're bipolar. All right, so what do? Gives me medication. Number 1, doesn't work.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I'm probably into the 4th medicine at this point, and this started in the month of January. I'm in the month of May, and I am like on the verge of the darkest tunnel you could possibly go down, which, as you know, as a parent, not normal, because none of us are going to just willingly leave their children unless, but anyways. So I got genetic testing done. They just quickly swab your mouth, see what medications work for me.
Yes. I've heard there have a lot of good results with that recently, actually.
Yes.
Actually choosing the medicine based on what they find in those results, yeah.
Yeah, so what happens is you get a big packet delivered to you, and obviously you go in and you talk to the provider with her about it, and you've got green column, yellow column, red column. Every freaking medication she had me on.
Red column.
Red column.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, no wonder I'm on the verge of suicide.
Well, yeah, and yes.
And that's, sorry, I shouldn't just throw that word out there.
Well, no, that's okay.
But that's...
You're not the only person that's going through this, right? And, like, I'm glad you're talking about this. I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want to get you too off track. But, like,
no, you're good.
especially now at our age, I feel like you're way more noticeable of how many mental health problems there are out there that, quite frankly, have been ignored for a number of years. And people don't like to admit that that's what was going on for years and years and years.
And not educated on it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so mental health issues, substance abuse issues, there are way more people probably using way more alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, whatever the drug may be, way more than you realize. You might think that somebody that is only using it like when you're around them or hanging out, but then you start to find out that that's not the case. They're using it constantly all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people function that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, you make a good point.
I've seen it with my family, my friends. You know what I mean? You just really start seeing it. And
I didn't know that my 20s of drinking and, partying, sexual activity, drugs, it was because of things I was trying to bury.
Yeah.
Things that may have happened in my childhood or teenage years, or things how I was feeling about myself. For the longest time, I felt like I was a failure because I didn't finish college in Northwest.
Yeah.
That was the
Isn't that
thing.
stupid?
Isn't that the stupid?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, all of your friends graduated from Northwest, but you
didn't.
didn't.
Yeah. I remember very early on, whenever I chose not to go to college, I had been working for 5 or 6 months. And I remember waking up one morning and my alarm went off. And I had to drive from Maryville to King City, so I had to get up pretty early.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
you would hit that time of the morning, everybody's commuting in and out of Maryville, so you would hit traffic. I mean, it would just take forever. I mean, it's like I don't know, probably a 40-minute drive, but sometimes it would take an hour. So I'd get up really early every morning. I remember one morning rolling over, my alarm went off, and I was just like, oh my God, am I gonna I was literally laying in bed should I even go? I don't even know if I want to go. And then that led down the road of, is this what I'm gonna do the rest of my life? Is this legitimately what I'm gonna do? I should be doing something so much more, or I should be in school, or I should get a diploma, or what all that stuff is. And I snapped out of it after about 10 minutes. I said, well, you got to go to work today.
Yeah.
You're not just going to quit, Yeah. And I went to work, and, I just stuck with it, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't, you know what I mean? Because it worked out really good. And I was on myself thinking that, I was lower than a lot of people because I wasn't going and getting a college education. I mean, that's...
Yeah, and I mean... That's a whole topic of its own.
And I didn't mean to throw you off there, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's growing up and having those skills. Those you were able to talk yourself out of it.
Right? Yeah.
But some people can't.
Yes.
And that is when they turn to, I'm just going to skip work today. Let's go ahead and just day drink. Let's go have fun with the friends. But then
I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
But then day 1 leads to day 2, day 3. Then weeks go by and it's like, oh crap,
that's
I've been
all I'm
fired
doing
from my job. Or so, anyways, yes, I'm getting off track now too. But
no, you're good. It's just all very important to talk about.
It is. And so, anyways, I was on all of those red column medications. Finally got myself away from that woman, and unfortunately, she's with the Clarinda. But I will say, she's the only.
Yeah.
There. Got in with Dr. Ryan Ernst. He's the psychiatrist, he's degree in neuroscience. He's just awesome. So he actually lives up in Omaha. He comes down to Clarinda a couple times a week. Got in with him, told him the whole process. So bummed, so upset for me. Put me through more tests. I have ADHD.
Okay, so
I have ADHD.
I feel unbelievably bad about what's to come out of my mouth, but I want to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You didn't.
No, I didn't. No one knew.
I feel like if you would have asked me when we were hanging out, I would have said yeah.
I know.
Even when
sure
when we were
Whitney,
14.
I know.
Or
I'm pretty
whatever,
sure Whitney said the same thing. She's like, yeah. I mean, ask Mrs. Barrett, ask Mr.
teachers,
Staten,
yeah.
ask Mrs. Schneider. I mean, school was rough for me. I'm telling you, I'm not a student. Now, if it's something I'm interested in, like all of the things that I've practiced, yoga, birth doula, the parenting stuff. Like I said, I'm a mindfulness practitioner now. Those are things that get my brain excited. So I'm able to quickly learn, quickly pick up, study, and I can remember all those facts. I can remember all that education. I don't know how to do a damn math equation. I don't.
Turns out it's not that important. There's a lot of things that do that for you.
When you got the ADHD diagnosis, did he stick with the bipolar, or was that
No, he
ixnay?
knocked that out.
Yeah.
He took that out. He's like, you're not bipolar.
That's one of the things about diagnosing mental health is
I know.
unless
difficult.
you really, really know what you're doing and have the education behind it, like a nurse practitioner, a psychologist really shouldn't even be diagnosing.
Exactly. And I think that was the one thing, my new medication that I'm on, yes, I'm still medicated. I have to take medication, obviously, in the morning for my ADHD. And then I take the fluoxetine at night, which is for anxiety, depression, paranoia. I think I probably, within 12 weeks, brand new person. I have never, ever felt like this in my life.
When you started that, was it like you started going up, or did you have like a dip at some point?
You have a massive dip, and it's unfortunate. But if you can ride out, it sounds terrible, but if you can ride out that 4 weeks, and I'll be completely honest, I am very fortunate to have the boss that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people aren't that fortunate. I was able to go to my boss, literally tell him what was going on, and he gave me that 4 weeks off.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, luckily Amelia was able to go to school. And that's the other weird thing. When she came home from school, I was able to put on my smile, parent.
Mm-hmm.
But during the day, did I sleep? Yeah. Did I cry? Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a massive dip. But if you can get through that 4 weeks of darkness, you're back on top. And that ended up giving me an insane amount of motivation. And then I got pissed off because just like you said,
Yeah.
she should not have been diagnosing me.
Mm-hmm.
She should not have been telling me I was bipolar and then giving me severe medications. I mean, these weren't just like, I'm not downplaying Zoloft or anything of that sort. These are like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Narcotics?
SSRIs?
Yeah,
Opioids?
SSRIs.
SSRIs, yeah.
No.
Controlled substances?
Very things that really will mess with your brain
Mm-hmm.
if you were not on the right track.
Yeah.
And so I got really upset. And, I've shared my story a lot with people at the studio, and
Mm-hmm.
I've told several people about this genetic panel. And I'm like, if you're going in for any kind of mental health, all you need to ask is for that mental health panel.
Yeah.
And I do not recommend ever going to a primary care physician because just like you made your
Yeah.
point, they need to be educated in neuroscience. They need to be educated with the brain. They need to be educated it's not a primary care
Well, it's
position.
it's not fair to you or other people that might be in your shoes right now because you're losing time that you aren't
Yes.
getting back, especially if you're treating something you don't have.
Yes. It's awful. It was awful. But like I said, it gave me motivation. And then I was able to kind of go into high drive of like, okay, now that I'm kind of on a, they call it a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
You have days where you're clear up here with ADHD, and then you have days where you're clear down here. I'm at a baseline now. So I wanted to learn more about how I can actually breathe. And my whole motto has always been, I'm so tired of just surviving. I want to actually thrive in life.
Yeah.
So I just went into the mindfulness courses just for my own self. And that's when I started the yoga just for myself. And I was blown away by just meditating a couple of times a day or learning how to actually breathe properly, learning the anatomy of like when you're actually breathing through your nose and out your mouth, here's what it does to your brain and the rest of your body. And I wanted to share that. Did it cause some stress in my life? Definitely, because owning a business is extremely hard. But just like I said, I'm constantly learning about myself. I've actually have come to find out with Dr. Ernst's help and through therapy and through some other mentors with mindfulness. And I owe a huge one to my chiropractor. She's somebody that works more on nerves and brain than actually bones.
Like a NUCA specialist?
No, she's considered a chiropractor, but she's considered a root cause chiropractor. So like Alex Baruth, Armstrong now.
Yeah.
She's a root cause.
My stepsister?
Your what?
My stepsister?
She's your stepsister now?
Dad and Regina aren't married, but yeah, they've been
Oh my
together.
gosh, that's
They've been together
cool.
for how long have Jamie and I been? Almost as long as Jamie and I have been together.
Wow. Okay, so that makes me feel like a bad friend because I didn't know that.
We don't live here. You've lived
That's
everywhere
true.
else.
That's
but
true.
Yeah.
But anyways, I have been seeing her on and off too. And it's those root cause people that have helped me discover I just have an extremely sensitive nervous system. I get very stressed very easily. I get very triggered very easily. And when triggers happen, I'm fatigued. Certain foods make me anxious and depressed. It's so weird.
Like sugars or?
It's actually really weird. If I eat, I didn't eat meat for a really long time, and now I'm kind of back into it. But if I eat too much meat, or I don't want to say processed food because I have to really avoid that stuff, but I'll get anxious.
Mm-hmm.
I get, and yes, you're on the right path. Sugar, red dye, all of this does insane things to your brain.
Well, I'm thinking, and I don't want to say your doctor now is wrong, but when were you not eating meat compared to eating meat with
I actually haven't.
feeling good?
I actually haven't. I stopped eating meat probably like my mid-20s because at that point, and Ethan knows, I've had 27 surgeries on my right kidney. So, and it's come to find out my body does not break down acids in my blood.
Very well,
which is
yeah.
what your kidneys are, and protein. I can't break down protein.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm constantly learning all this
these
insane
things, yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah, and then I mean, and I'm not like, I don't want you to think that like, but I'm assuming now that you know more about it, there's probably some things that you would want to do different in your 20s a little bit.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know
That
what
you-
Alex had told me?
When you're young, you just ignore it, like, fuck it, whatever, I'm gonna, you know what I mean? But-
Basically, she told me that I screwed my gut health in nicer terms.
yeah.
Everything from obviously, and it's for women especially, when you are drinking a lot of coffee, a lot of alcohol. When you're doing coffee, especially first thing in the morning, men and women, it's jacking up your hormones.
Yeah.
Horrible. On an empty stomach, you're causing leaky gut.
I'm not a coffee drinker.
Oh, but I was.
I know.
There's
There's a lot of people that are.
And what happens when you have leaky gut? You're putting a hole in your stomach. Next thing you know, you have acne, you have insomnia, you have anxiety, like get creepy things like gout. And it's just, yeah.
Alcohol does gout real bad.
So I literally, from all of my alcohol and coffee consumption, I had caused leaky gut. I trashed. Oh, I mean, yeah, it probably played a major
Part in
my
yeah.
mental health.
Yeah. Well, just in general. I mean, it's all one working together.
Dude.
I'll tell you what, injure yourself real good and you find out how important all your shit needs.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, you're going to find out one day. I told myself the same thing. I was like, fuck, I've never broken a bone. It'll happen.
Dude, my body's a temple, though.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I could tell by your hair. But the
Luscious.
but it is like it's like you just like things like that make you realize how important everything has to work together to make it work right. You know what I mean?
I think too. Well, and yes, and then
Your
and as,
muscles, brain, nervous system. I mean,
well, and as you're
just-
getting, as we're older than him, obviously, but
yeah,
it's
he's a baby.
it then turns around and it's like, okay, I have all of this stuff to focus on. So I'm going to be setting some boundaries. My energy can only go to certain places right now.
Yeah.
I've got some serious boundaries set because I don't have the energy. And that's,
Yeah.
I mean, the body is a temple thing is funny, but it's also like, no, I'm dead serious. Like,
yeah.
I'm trying really hard to heal myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when it comes to family, I have some friends. I have boundaries set. I cannot.
The people you work with, I assume, help too. I mean,
I work by myself, man.
well, I know, but like even working with
Oh,
your
yes, yes,
clients
yes.
and things of that nature.
That's why
yeah.
I love. I burnt myself out going real hard when I first opened up teaching yoga. I was doing like 4 classes a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Not good
Yeah.
on your body. But I was just so excited.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I've tapered back big time.
Yeah, and it gets tough. I assume so. And this is where I'm trying to segue. I do want to back up to one thing that you were talking about. Whenever you were kind of talking, well, there's a couple of things. As we were kind of progressing forward, when you were talking about, like we had kind of initially talked about the like mental health thing, addiction problems, all those types of things. And you had talked about what was triggering you and you couldn't figure out why and all
Yeah.
those types of things. and I really liked whenever you talked about how, like you said, like, you know, you were able to talk yourself off the ledge.
Yeah.
But you couldn't in this case. And a lot of people can't. Some people can. And for a long time in my 20s, I would say mostly, because I had the ability to do that, I didn't want to accept that other people didn't. And a lot of people, I think, are guilty of that. And I think people that even have the same issue also outwardly project that they feel like everybody should have the ability to. And we don't like to admit that people
Yes.
sometimes don't have that ability. So I appreciate you saying that. And then, like, Dustin and I almost always, like, particularly around, like, Christmas time, usually connect a little bit. And I think that's just because he's not here for me and nobody's down there for him a little bit.
Yeah.
And like we were just, you know, he sent me a long text that I won't 100% get into, but it was just kind of like basically apologizing for some stuff that, from my point of view, he had zero reason to apologize for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But he just needed to.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was just trying to figure out maybe if he was depressed or whatnot. And I had told him, I was like, man, I mean, there's times I start thinking maybe I'm depressed. And the problem is you don't know how to check on yourself very well.
Right. And that's one thing I've learned.
But a lot of people don't like it when people are checking on them either. And
Yeah.
so being on either side of it, like I try to check on myself. I try to calm myself down, realize, and a lot of this is done internally.
Yeah.
I tried to like surely somebody would be saying something to me. You know what I mean? Or surely there would be signs, but I know it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Like, how do you tell? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those, to me, it's just one of those things that, like, you constantly assessing yourself, but at the same time not obsessively assessing yourself.
I was
You know?
at one
Yeah,
point.
uh-huh.
I was, you know, even after, and sorry to interrupt you,
No, you're good. Go ahead.
When Mom had died, one thing I quickly found was not normal was I knew I had anxiety and paranoia issues. I wasn't eating.
Mm-hmm.
Because here we have this long line of people in our family with stomach issues, colon cancer. I mean, Mom's not the first one in our family to die from colon cancer.
Right.
Or stomach cancer. And, you know, here I was like, I'm going to go get a colonoscopy. I've told Kelsey, I've told Whitney, I've told Haley, I'm not going down with that shit.
Yeah. And
I am getting things checked. But it became...
And you're high risk.
And I'm high risk
because your mom got it when
already.
she was young. And a lot of people don't, even when you need to. And then even, like, people that know they're high risk still don't.
But I knew something was wrong because I was scared. I thought drinking one Diet Coke was going to kill me. And that's not a joke. Like,
Yeah.
I literally thought, there's no way I'm going to touch that cheeseburger. There's no way I'm going to... Because I thought that... And that's when I knew I was like, I'm in trouble. Because And as I got that fixed, I mean, it was obviously like a food anxiety, food paranoia. But once I got that fixed, I was like, okay, so I just need to listen to my body. Like, I need to tell, like, if I'm not able to breathe, if I'm not eating, if I'm feeling more heavy than usual, something's going on. And that's what people don't realize is it's like, you know, I've talked to some family and they're like, yep, aches and pains. I got them. It comes with life. And I'm like, no, but as I'm learning, your body, you know, whether it's sweating excessively or fevers or, you know, I have issues with swollen lymph nodes sometimes. Like, your body is constantly telling you something's wrong. Just listen to it.
Yeah, it's your check engine light.
It's your exactly. Yeah. But, you know, older generations or, you know, just some people are okay with living a certain...
Having swollen lymph nodes, if you're worried about cancer, is very scary.
I actually had surgery in December having lymph nodes removed because they thought I had lymphoma. I was like,
Oh, jeez.
as if and I don't. I'm that's actually a whole other, but it's...
When did that come about? Because were we not still in high school whenever they first started thinking you might have lymphoma?
No.
It was after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember, but...
It's a mess, but I'm just like kind of over it.
I know when a parent dies for a lot of people, the anxiety and stuff normally comes after, you know. I lost my dad a couple years ago,
I'm
and
sorry.
this is going to sound bad, but like it was, I don't want to say refreshing, but just like being there and seeing it, because all of my anxieties before were, I'm out, we're playing a show or hanging out. In my head, tonight's going to be the night I get a call that dad's dead, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, that was my fear, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
And that's why I probably struggled pretty bad after it happened. You know, Mom was sick for 5 years. They gave her only a year.
Yeah.
And she's obviously power woman, but I was obviously traveling. I was constantly traveling. And anytime she'd get sick, you know, my best friend at the time was my mom's oncology nurse. So Bree would call me anytime there was an issue. Hey, Mom's septic. Hey, Mom, you need to come back. So obviously I'd always fly back. And I remember a conversation at home one time. Mom was like, Lindsay, you have to stop. Like, you can't keep flying home
Back and
every
forth,
time
kinda
something's
silly.
wrong. And motherly, right? She's like, I don't want you to lose your job. And I'm like, in a way, through therapy, I have found that like I was avoiding it. I was running away. Like Lacey was living at home with Mom. Leah was around. She's good. She's got two. I didn't want to deal with it. And that's horrible.
Yeah.
And that's something I have to live with. And obviously I have to keep working through. But that one time that Tyler and I were in San Diego, I think we were both out there for work. She got back to the hospital, was sent to Fairfax actually. And I was like, okay, well, told Lacey, just keep me updated. Like, if I need to fly home, I will, but it's going to be kind of hard to maneuver things around this time. I'll probably just end up staying here. And I think I came home. I was standing in the hotel room and I just got out of the shower or something. And Lacey had texted me and said she's gone. And I was like, fear unlocked. I fucked up big time. And knowing that I wasn't there for those two, they actually held Mom as it like happened. Like, I was so disappointed in myself. And that's just something I'm be honest, I'm not over. And I'm probably not going to get over it for a very long time. It's just, it unlocks.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, okay, this fear was unlocked. It actually happened. It came true. What else is going to follow?
See, I didn't have that following.
Yeah.
And I was granted the opportunity to like be there with his passing, holding his hand during COVID. And immediately walking out of the room, it was more of like a weight lifted.
Yeah.
So I immediately cracked a joke to my sister, which did not land.
Oh, shit.
Which is what I would have done too.
Yeah.
Hey, but don't be, people cope in different ways.
We had the
Yeah.
mask on and the respirator. And when we walked out, my sister and I are walking side by side. I turned to her, I go, well, this is the saddest astronauts have been since the Challenger. And I watched a single tear come out of my beautiful sister's face. And my brother-in-law just grabbed my shoulder and goes, know your audience.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well,
See, I don't see it's so I would have appreciated that in that
Yeah.
moment. I mean, that's the type of
Yeah.
person I am too. I guess like
yeah.
I don't know. Laughter's the best medicine.
Yeah.
It is.
In my opinion.
And-
No, go ahead.
I make a lot of jokes about being a half orphan.
Oh, okay.
And like my girlfriend will be like, especially like as it's happened, she was like, you're just overcompensating. And I was like, I'm really not, because all of my struggles with this had already happened.
Yeah.
You know, I went
Yeah.
through the worst of the worst. So
Yeah.
now it's like easier to accept because I knew when it was happening, I was there, I watched it happen.
Yeah.
I can move on.
Yeah. And that's probably, that's a good point. It's probably maybe you got the closure.
Yeah.
And when I speak of, I went the longest time thinking she was mad at me. And it got to the point that I went to a psychic, a medium, and I was like, dude, I just have to know my mom's not pissed off at me for not flying home.
So let me ask you this: I'm trying to remember. So, did you have your child before she passed, or no?
I was,
Amelia.
no, that's the messed up thing. I was pregnant in October. We lost that baby.
Mm-hmm.
And mom started really going downhill.
Gotcha.
And then I found out that I was pregnant again in November.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even get to tell her that I was pregnant
Oh.
because it had already spread to her brain. It was just, so literally at her funeral, I was 11 weeks that day. So
Gotcha.
she never got to meet
No.
Amelia.
So, a question for you. So, now that you have Amelia, do you find can you, now being a parent with a daughter, does that help you feel better? Like, does that help you understand that your mom probably wasn't mad at you? Or, and you don't
Well-
have to answer that, but I just noticed, like, and the only reason I say that is because I noticed, like, any doubt that I would have had in the past about any sort of relationship that I would have, or conversation, or anything, just anything with my parents, that I now understand, or at least I feel like for the most part I understand how my parents felt going through that, being on this side of parenthood
Yeah.
now. And I just wondered if that helps, or if it...
Well, first of all, it's helpful because Amelia is, I mean, you knew mom. Amelia is a spitting image of mom. It's creepy.
Yeah.
Everyone calls her Little Wendy because she's got her curly hair. She wants to constantly be barefoot. She is a spitting image of that woman. She's the sweetest girl. But also, I mean, and I know people have their own thoughts and opinions about this. I'm such an energy person. I gravitate off people's energy. Like I just, and I believe in the psychic and mediumship. I believe in that stuff. And I think that Ashley helped me kind of move on because she was mentioning things, and I have the recording, and sometimes I read back on it, and she was mentioning things that no one knows about.
Yeah.
Literally, one of the things was a gift my dad gave me 2 days before I met with Ashley, and Ashley knew about it.
Yeah.
And so getting that closure from Ashley that mom's okay. And I'll be completely honest, I feel like I get signs from her all the time. And so I feel like I do feel more at ease. But it's, yeah.
One of the weird things that whenever something extremely bad is going to happen to me or something extremely good, this kid from Craig that died when I was in high school, Taiwan, he's always in the dream the night before. If something extremely bad happens the next day or something extremely good, he's always there.
So you believe in that stuff? Because that's clearly not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence if every time,
That's
like the
that's a
major,
sign.
like terrible things in my life or the amazing, awesome things in my life, I see him in a dream the night before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's literally a sign of, and
Well, Kiefer and I have talked about this on the podcast before, but I don't think it's a bad time to bring it up based on what we're talking about. But I think we both believe that, like, trying to run around and prove what's 100% real and what's 100% not is kind of
Oh my
a fool's game, because, like, if you believe in something, then I think it's real. You know what I mean? I mean, and we only have our own perspective to truthfully understand, right? Like, I can never understand what's going on in your brain. I can never understand what's going on in
No.
Kiefer's or whoever's it is.
Nor
You know
should
what I
we
mean?
try to.
Try to, right? But I do, like, and we talked, the first time we kind of brought this conversation up was around, like, ghosts and stuff like that. But if you believe in, or astrology or whatever the case may be, like, I think we both, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here or if I'm overstepping what our conversations were, but like, if you believe in that sort of thing, then I think it makes it real. You know what I mean? I think it, you know, and I don't think that, I mean, this, again, not to sound too hippie, I'm not, but I don't think that there's anybody that can tell you any different, because your experiences are your experiences and nobody else's. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, your sense of self is your perception of what's around you. And for everybody, the most realist thing is the self.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
their consciousness, everything.
Yep.
So it makes sense what you're saying.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
if somebody believes they're abducted by aliens and like truly believe that, you can't get them to believe there's no aliens.
Right. And
Nor,
no.
nor is it your right to.
right.
You
Yeah.
can't, you're
Yeah.
not, that shouldn't even be, no, that shouldn't even be a thing. But no, I'm on the same wavelength. I think, I mean,
I also believe a lot in confidence and being positive is going to make you feel good and successful at something. And then if you go into something automatically thinking, and I think there's a lot of proof that this is true, but automatically thinking you're going to suck, you're going to suck. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
it's literally, it's manifestation.
Mhm.
And like, if you put that shit out there,
Yep.
it can happen for you.
right.
And honestly, that's
Which
a
is
lot
about-
of the teachings that you learn through the yoga process and everything too. And so
Yep.
that's pretty cool. But
Yep. And I want to get to that. We're getting.
I know.
I mean, I don't know how much time you have, so
Yeah.
and I don't care.
you tell me when to shut up.
Well, no,
I
the
can-
content's great, so I don't. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
You
Do you
tell
have
me.
something coming up? I really
Me?
don't.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I just need to pee some point.
so the it's not even. I mean, we're not. It's not even been an hour. You've gone way longer than this.
No, it's
before.
been an hour.
But it has.
Yeah.
But it hasn't even been a couple hours.
Wait, are you switching away from paranormal stuff?
No. Do you want to
Okay.
talk? Well, do you want to talk about it?
Can I add real
Yeah.
quick? My post the other day.
Mhm.
Did you see about that? I'm trying to figure out more about the house we grew up in, Westboro.
Yes. I did see that. Yes.
That shit was haunted. Bad.
We had I grew up in a haunted house too.
Bad.
I also did.
So I would love to figure out.
Yeah, okay.
We've talked about it. And I'll talk about it again real quick if you want to, but go ahead, Lindsay.
I mean, that's when I knew I was more of a vibe thing. That actually started when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you walked into my bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
that shit was heavy,
Mm-hmm.
dark, cold. I hated that bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Hated it. And I would go to bed almost every night with an upset stomach. To the point, I remember I had like a permanent galvanized bowl next to my bed because I would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and puke.
Mm-hmm.
And my closet was even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Lacey's, our upstairs, I don't know if you remember the Westboro house.
I do. I'm up there a couple of times for sure, yeah.
It's like it goes in a circle
Mhm.
almost. So the staircase is in the middle, and then it's like here was our play in our living room,
Mhm.
Leah's room, Lacey's room, my room. Here you are back at the play center, and then we added on a bathroom up there,
Mhm.
and it was just like Leah's room was terrifying, which is weird because it was full of windows. It was bright, airy, and you speak of dreams. I have dreams still to this day of that bedroom.
Mhm.
And if I walk in that room, it's still decorated in Leah's horse stuff. She loved horses growing up. And the ceiling is talking to me. It's so fucked up. The ceiling is literally talking to me. And it's like cloudy up in there, but it's like got a mouth and it's talking to me and it's mean and it's angry. And you go into Lacey's room, it's okay. My room, dark. Don't even go near the closet. Something's in there waiting for you. And I'm like, how is it I'm 30? Oh, yeah. I still have those dreams.
Yeah.
And then Lee and I were texting about it the other day. And Lacey comes out of nowhere and goes, well, you know that was a morgue, right?
Oh.
Excuse me? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So is that true? So that leads to my post that I posted a couple days ago. Where do I start in Atchison County to find out about a house?
The assessor's house, yeah. The assessor's office.
So
They'll have all that information when it was built and who all owned it and changed hands and all
and it may
that.
not even be the house. I mean, it could be, I've watched enough stuff. It could have been something that happened 2 houses down, or it could even just be the land.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But anyways, Dad had mentioned a while back that when we all moved out after their divorce, that's when he started hearing doors slamming upstairs.
Mhm.
And he would hear footsteps running up and down the staircases.
Yeah.
And he would hear kids running. He's like, it'd be like small feet running, just running like you girls used to do.
Yep.
And I was like, that just sounds like something was torturing you, that we were no longer living there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in that basement.
Yeah, almost like your mind's doing it to you because you used to hear it and you miss that. So like maybe it's throwing something back in there.
And that's kind of what he mentioned too. But, Lacey and I then shared with him, we're like,
Yeah.
dude, no, like growing up, that place upstairs, especially in that basement, heavy.
Yeah.
It was just like something. I mean, I was there from 5 to 18, and I don't think I got a good night's solid sleep at that house. It was just messed up.
Yeah. So my house was the funeral home originally.
Okay, well that's
And
that's
the
my
little,
story to shame.
So the little well actually no, not really. So the little you remember like the little rental apartment we had that was in the
Yeah.
side yard there. So that's what held the hearses when they were horse drawn.
Oh my god.
That's what it was originally. So I struggle with whether I believe or not, but I mean, I guess there's enough instances that like I don't have answers for, so I'm not. I guess I'm very in the middle.
Yeah.
But here's what I will tell you. Similar to what you were talking about, the bedroom that was my bedroom first. So my parents found out they were pregnant with me, and they weren't even living together yet. In 1989, Dad was working at the nuke plant, and he used to live in that house in Rockport that's like just kind of past J, like on that right before that last corner that goes to Rockport. Little one-story white house with a green roof. They just tore it down finally not too long ago on the south side of the road. And Mom was still living in Maryville, and they settled here because they were getting ready to have me, and they needed to live somewhere, so they put me in that room, which was just across from their bedroom. And so I would have been the first person in there. And I always had really, really, really bad dreams in there, like really bad ones. And like I got a dream catcher at one point, and like
Yeah.
this is gonna sound silly, but like it would cut down on it, but it wouldn't get rid of it. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Probably not doing anything.
You may just needed a little more.
But really bad dreams in there. I slept in there. I didn't. It took Mom and Dad a while to get me to stay in it. So like,
Oh yeah.
they spent time trying to get me to go in there and sleep in it, like whenever I was big enough to be out of a crib. And then they ended up putting a youth bed in their bedroom for me. And then finally, when I got too big for that, I stayed in there for a long time. But I would always have, for me, my biggest thing with that room was just really bad dreams, a lot, constantly.
Yeah.
And then eventually, it became Evan's, and Evan refused to sleep in there until he was probably like 12, and then by then, he's the second kid, so he was getting to sleep on the couch or wherever he wanted to. But like he basically refused to sleep in that room, and he slept with my mom until he was quite a bit older because he did not like sleeping in there. And we didn't think a whole hell of a lot about it, but then at one point my dad was sleeping in there. Because like him and Mom's shifts were opposite for a while.
Yeah.
So like he would work. He would go to school in the morning, and then he would work second shift at the prison, and so it didn't line up. He was getting home at midnight or whatever and sleeping later and then starting all that thing up. So he slept in there, and he admitted he had bad dreams in there, really bad. And another thing that Evan would bitch about is no matter what, I don't remember this being an issue, but maybe it's because I always left the closet door open, but he would always bitch about how the closet door, no matter what he did, would not stay shut.
Ew.
No matter what, he would put shit in front of it, and it would not stay shut.
No. Oh,
Like they would try like new latches and stuff, and it would not stay shut. And he said it would always open. I mean, on its own. I will say this: it's old. The wood shifts. The door's old. The frame's old. All that stuff. But there's some things that they did to try to keep it closed to appease him, and it wouldn't stay closed. I never experienced that, but like I said, I can't really remember. I may have just left it open all the time. I don't know. But Dad admitted the same thing. He said that fucking closet door will not stay shut. It opens all the goddamn time. And he goes, I have the worst dreams in there and all that type of stuff. And then Dustin come to find out years later, admitted, he goes, I used to fucking hate staying at your house.
Oh, no.
And we usually did, though, because he lived in the country, right? And we
Yeah,
wanted to be
yeah.
in town all the time, hang out with everybody, go to the pool, whatever. But he was like, I did not care for staying in your house
Yeah, he
growing
used
up.
to tell me, he's like, when I was little, I
He's
hated
a mega bitch. But
He used to be like, Dustin used to
Take that, Justin.
Dustin used to tell me he used to hate, when you guys were growing up, hate staying at Touchy Ethan's house.
yeah,
His words, not mine.
Touchy Ethan.
Yeah.
So I
Do you have any issue, or do you have issues now?
nope.
Because I say this because Lacey has issues to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say Lacey has issues, but it's Riker, her second.
Mm-hmm.
They can't keep him in his bedroom.
Yeah.
He says that there are 2 monsters in his room. It's a nightly thing
Yeah.
that live very far away
Mm-hmm.
that want to take him.
Yeah.
And Lacey's just like, I'm at my wit's end.
She better tell her.
I'm
to
not parenting that.
Now listen. Tell her to get the fucking sage out. It's time.
We've talked about it. It's
Yeah.
like, say, open the windows.
Yeah.
Like, but that kid refuses, and he's only 4.
Mm-hmm.
No, he just turned 4. Lacey has to, and she'll find him in the morning underneath her bed.
Yeah.
He's terrified.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can tell, like, Simon and Rob occasionally try to play that card, but I can tell whenever they're legitimately scared or not.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
he's
mean, or
like
not.
Riker will like, I mean, he's like shedding tears, screaming, kicking, like refuses,
Yeah.
and it's like at that point, like, do you believe them? Do you like?
At that point, so I'll tell you what, Lacey, you move your shit into that room and then move him into yours and see how it goes for you.
But I mean, I don't know. I think it's if you open yourself to that kind of thing, things are gonna happen.
Yeah. I agree.
I disagree with that statement.
What?
Oh, okay.
I feel like a lot of kids are open to, or their worldview isn't so narrow yet.
yeah.
And I feel like if you grow up and your worldview doesn't get narrowed, you have a more inkling to that. I don't think you just open up like your mind.
Okay,
like,
that's
I'm
true.
going to believe like
No, that's true.
this Ouija board's going to work, because it's not.
That's-
you know?
that's a good
yeah,
point.
no, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would agree with that. But I'm just saying, if you immediately shut down and don't believe that shit, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
never going to mean anything.
There's like a kind of like a block.
But I know
of-
you're
of-
talking about with
yeah.
kids.
No, that's
but I would say that, don't you think that probably, wouldn't you say that it starts that early, though?
Yeah, I
Whether
would.
Oh, for sure.
This stuff happened to me at that age. I was
Mhm.
seeing people that had recently died in our kitchen.
Okay.
I
Really?
very descriptive. This one lady, one of my parents' best friends, who died of cancer, never was around me without a wig on. And I was like, who's the
Oh.
bald lady? And explained exactly who it was the morning that she died without me knowing. I
Oh.
knew really weird stories about my great grandpa in World War II. World War II.
Yeah.
That nobody would have told me
Okay.
with me being that young.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I knew weird things about the Challenger. which
Oh,
is
so you were
weird.
like,
Now, maybe you're one of those people that have passed life.
that's what I'm saying. You hear those kids now, they're like, they're going on all these like rants about how they used to be in past life. Like,
Yeah.
you read those articles where some kids talking about used to being a pilot or there's been a couple really insane
Yeah.
ones. And it,
I don't know.
I mean, do you still have that stuff now? Like, can you see things now?
Schizophrenia runs in my family.
Okay.
I don't have any inkling to it. I don't have any audio, or not audio, any sound. Yeah, audio.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that would suggest that I am susceptible to it.
Right.
So if I do see something or something is weird, and I normally don't talk about it, but one of the things that happened, fairly recent in the past couple of years, is I had sleep paralysis one night.
Okay. I know
It
someone
happens
bad with it.
quite frequently.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah.
The same night, my girlfriend had sleep paralysis. And I know we're not
Oh.
married, but we were sleeping in the same bed.
Yeah, I don't approve of that.
I know.
I've told you
Shame.
that.
Well, I
Shame.
had done laundry, and I did not put the other her sheets in the dryer. So
Well, that's her job anyway.
But I was talking to her sister, like,
You have to give her a minute.
that's okay. My story's not important.
It's all right.
keep
Go
going.
ahead.
Yes,
Go
it's
ahead.
really good. You started it. You know what
It
you
turns
do.
out that talking to her sister that we had seen the exact same thing and the exact same places within the room, but we had not talked about it other than talking to her sister about it separately.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, when you say sleep it's literally. So I know someone that he's still. I think he still struggles with it, but it's
It's a lot like fainting goats, is what I've been.
well. It's
Just kidding. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Lindsay.
know your audience. No, he had it to where somebody would sit on him,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very tall black figure, and this was a big guy.
Don't
And-
be racist here.
Well, I'm just top hat man.
Like
Had a top-
shadows.
The top hat, and he would just come in and he just would sit on him and he would choke him, and he would it's look it up. If you go online, it's everyone sees this top hat man. And
I've seen it.
you've seen the top hat man?
No, I've seen shows about
Oh,
people
yeah.
experiencing it.
But
yeah.
it's so heavy and you can't breathe and you can't get out of you're awake but you can't get out of it, and it messed with his life and his mind for quite a while. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you don't want to go to sleep.
I mean, yeah, it sounds terrifying.
Whenever it happens to me, I wake up and the first thing I think is fuck, because I know exactly what's happening.
Oh no.
How do you get out of it?
I don't know.
It
I
just
just
stops
normally
eventually?
just fall back asleep, or I just like am stuck till the sun comes up.
Oh god.
I don't sleep very good if you look at my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
But I always know, like, as soon as I do it, I'm like, fuck. And then I don't want to look around the room because I know somewhere there's something. And normally wherever I move my eyes first to, like, think it's not going to be there, it's normally, like, the second place after that.
It's just like waiting for
Yeah.
you to like.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Is it
God.
the same thing? Sorry, you don't have to.
No,
talk about
it's
this.
not.
I'm just like over here prying because I'm
It's
like,
not
oh,
the
it's so
same.
interesting. But I remember seeing a few things on there's people out there, obviously scientists are always trying to find ways to like, oh, well, the reason why you have sleep paralysis is because you're watching too much TV before bed, something insane like that.
Oh
And it's
fuck,
like,
that ain't.
no,
we don't
it's-
have electricity at my
Yeah.
place.
no.
So that is not the case.
I'm
Or
just
running
saying,
water.
I'm just saying there's always trying to find reasons to
Which
make it not real.
Yeah.
But it's like, is it the same thing or is it something different every time?
It's different. There's a lot of similarities.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe you should talk to Dr. Ernst.
Still could.
Do you go searching for like ghosties and stuff like that? Or like haunted museums?
I used to when I was littler, like little,
Yeah.
not like to this. I don't think I have the balls to do that. I'm gonna be completely honest.
Yeah.
I mean, there for a while. Remember, Clute was out doing ghost hunts, and he was constantly like asking, like, "Do you want to meet me at Rankin?" And I'm like, "Hell no."
I have a story about Rankin.
Well, Mom used to work here, and she told me a bunch of stuff. Because I don't know if you remember when the academy was here. Mom was a nurse here at the academy, and she would have to do stuff at night, in the middle of the night, by herself in the basement. And when she would come home and tell us stories, that's when I'm like, nah.
I've heard a ton of people that worked up here that I know and trust talk about, like, I don't know if I want to say names, and I'll tell you offline afterwards. But this particular individual, you'll know who he is, and he doesn't come off as a person that even believes in this sort of thing. And
Yeah.
he's kind of and you'll know who it is too. Kind of a taller, tougher, gruffer guy, and he
Yeah.
would tell us like, dude, that fucking shit up there that is scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I never did. We would come in here kind of hoping to get scared, but it would never happen. I don't know. Well, Rankin more so, but
I don't, I'm here quite frequently by myself. Like,
Yeah.
I'll turn off the lights and walk down. I don't really have like a problem. I don't think like I think if you feel something, everybody just assumes it's bad and they get scared.
That's true.
I don't think there's anything like nefarious going on
Yeah.
here. I will say I was taking pictures in the bottom basement of Rankin. We're selling the windows over there. We're selling the windows at Rankin. They average
put
about
that
35
in later.
Okay, sorry. Just got a job to do.
I do.
I was walking around taking pictures, and Tay, our finance lady, was down there with me because we all like to go
Yeah.
around these buildings. It's pretty neat. And I was taking pictures, and under the stairs, there's this long hallway, no windows. It's on both sides. And I was like, what's in there? So I took a picture because my flash was up, and my camera goes and doesn't take the picture. I was like, that's weird. So I turn it off, turn it back on, do it again. It goes. I tried a couple more times. Like, what is going on? And I hold the thing down. I have a Canon SL2, a fairly new camera. It shouldn't have problems. Do it again. I was
Sounds like a
that's
Polaroid. but-
That's weird. And I turned it to the hallway, immediately took a picture. And it freaked the finance lady out. And she's just like, I'm going back to Thompson.
Someone does not want their photo taken.
there with you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And she's a scaredy cat about everything.
There's, like I said, multiple people from this town that worked up here when it was the YSI and just said the weirdest, most bizarre shit.
Oh yeah,
happened to
Mom
them.
would be there. I just remember we lived in Westboro at this point, and there was a while there where she had to be the night nurse or on-call nurse, and I just remember a time where I don't know. I woke up with her in the middle of the night or something. She got a call. Some kid broke their arm or something, and she had to come in and cast it. And she was just, you could just tell
She
was
didn't wanna
just
go.
beat down. She was like, I just don't want to go. And I was at the age, you finally are able to have conversations with your parents, and she's like, it's just scary. Like, there's stuff that goes on in there that I'm not, and I'm by myself, and I'm not comfortable. And I mean, she never quit or anything because eventually it got shut down, right? But like, it's
Yeah.
like some people just
Those are the type of things that make me wish I could time travel so I could at least experience what all these people were experiencing. Mostly because it was here. Like, even whenever we went through some of the buildings, it's just like, I just can't believe we were able to support this ever. You know what I mean? Because our entire lives is on the decline.
Yeah.
100%. Actually, probably over the hump of the decline. But
yeah.
anyway, we're at almost an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I do
Yes, what?
I do want to talk more about mindfulness.
Oh.
Right this minute.
I mean, we don't have to. We can just do
Well,
it
maybe
us.
this is gonna go. Well, maybe this is gonna go into what I wanted to talk about. This is another one that I don't know if I pronounced right, but I just heard somebody else say it right. But is it ashram?
The
No.
ashram.
Ashram.
Oh.
Okay.
I was going to correct it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I wasn't.
This
gonna
is
be right.
about. This is. You don't ever correct me.
Okay.
And this is the business we've been talking about and talked about yoga, but I did want you to go. I really do want to talk about that, and we may have to. I know you've got
just
some
have
changes
me
and
come
stuff, but we're gonna
back.
have you come back.
Yeah.
So,
We got off track with
but
ghosts and
I do
mental
still
health.
I do still want to hit on it. I want you to chat about what got you into it, why you're doing it. I think we've covered kind of the mental health and all that stuff aspects that I was hoping we would go into quite well.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about that a little bit and let people know it's out there. And I know you've got some changes coming and all that.
Yeah, yeah, we're going to be moving studio wise, and I'm probably honestly going to take a break from teaching yoga in studio because I'm just burnt.
Right.
I've been doing mobile stuff, having pop-up classes and stuff in Maryville, and I'm going to start some in Bedford, but I don't like it. I obviously knew that it was going to become my job, but I had such joy in doing yoga for myself.
Yeah.
And I had joy doing it on Saturdays in Maryville. I had, small classes and up to 15. So I guess they were decent classes. And that was nice. But as it builds, and then as I've learned this about myself and my body, it became such a heavy pressure on me that I didn't enjoy creating sequences. I didn't enjoy teaching it. I didn't enjoy And that's sad to me. Like that's not where I ever anticipated it to go. And obviously the ashram in Maryville has the red light therapy and it has the halo therapy rooms. Red light therapy, I try to use it every day that I'm in there. It's great for mental health, inflammation, arthritis, anxiety. It's, it's grade 2 medical FDA approved device. It's just relaxing. There's no other way to say it. It's just, it makes you calm down. It makes you sit under a panel, take in the light, and it just does insane things to your cells. Cellular turnover is quick, gives you an energy boost. So I started using that, and that's why I brought it to the studio, because I wanted other people to have that. We're all looking for energy, first of all. And then the halo therapy room, it's literally Himalayan salt, and you breathe in pharmaceutical grade salt, and it's removing the toxins and the bacteria from your body and also relaxing. But the biggest clientele of that room is children.
Red light?
No, halo therapy.
Okay, halo therapy. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Apologize. I took a drink.
Pay attention.
I know.
It just, clears out the mucus, clears out.
Does it do a good job at that?
Yeah. Holy cow.
And how does it work? I'm sorry. You may have just explained this.
God. No. There's a chamber. It's got a quick blade in it. Breaks down that pharmaceutical grade salt and it pushes it into the room. There's no fans, vents, or
Gotcha.
anything.
Okay.
So you're breathing in that salt.
Okay.
And what that salt does is it goes into your skin, into your lungs, and whatever bacterial, viral, fungal, mucus, whatever in respiratory health, in immune system, it just breaks all of that stuff down. It literally eats at it, like the mucus.
My mom has a ton of those salt, like candles all over her house.
Yeah.
Or, well, they're not candles, obviously. They're like
Like
lights.
the lamps,
And
yeah.
And she swears by them.
So that's basically what the room is made up of.
But it's
Yeah.
way more exposure.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, if kids come in with RSV, asthma, mucus.
I would like to give that a try. With asthma, I get bad sinuses, and I love bath salts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But, like littles that come in, the parents are, how many sessions do I need to do? And I'm straight up, I'm like, well, by session 2, you can literally hear the kids in the back hacking up the stuff that they have stuck in there. But yeah, those are the 2 rooms that are offered. And then obviously yoga. And I haven't been able to do the mindfulness stuff and the parenting stuff, which that thing is new. We can talk about that next time.
Okay.
That's something I've actually been reaching out to the school district here. I've been reaching out to Maryville. I have a couple of meetings with court systems around.
You can reach out to Tarkio Tech if you'd like.
That'd be awesome.
I'll tell you no, but you can still reach out.
Okay.
No, he never tells anybody no.
So the mindfulness is, I wish I had the curriculum up. I should just have emailed it. We can talk about it more next time too.
Okay.
But I have several different programs, and it's anything, if it's like a short, mindfulness 101, it's basically how to stop being stuck in whatever position you're in, past, future. How can you move forward?
I'm very curious about the mindfulness thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm very mindful of the things I get to do in life. And I've talked about it on here about how thankful I am to live the life that I have. So, and I've always kind of been like that in certain ways. So I'm curious to see what it's like for somebody that isn't like that.
Yeah.
And what steps it is to take to be like kind of where like I'm at in the journey.
Yeah. So it's like, and I've had somebody that's talked to me about, when I have people that come in and ask about it at the studio, I even like to do the sessions in the salt room just because it's just a nice combo. But I had someone that came in and is very much like, I've never been confident. I've never understood why I do X, Y, and Z. I don't understand why I feel this way. And it was literally simple things as to like, and I'm obviously not a therapist. So it's like, I always have to start with that disclaimer. Like, you still need to go to therapy. You still need to, but here are some things that I can help you with in the meantime. It's listening to your body. We go through this body wheel. We go through an emotional wheel, and there's different tiers on it. It's like, okay, if my stomach is starting to hurt, what is it that you may be thinking about or feeling? What's the correct word to pair it with that physical symptom? And then that kind of trickles down into, I'm reacting this way because, but then if you go into the deeper curriculum, it's quite a bit of inner child talk. It's, okay, well, I'm a people pleaser, so why do I have to constantly feel like I need to be there for people and not for myself? And it's talking about, okay, well, this is maybe what you were missing when you were growing up. And so you're having to overcompensate or do X, Y, and Z because this is what you're still needing. So how can we give ourselves that? And then, I even have some people that come in for 1 or 2 sessions, want to figure out, how the hell do I stay off my phone? You know how many people that come in and ask me, I'm so tired of being on my phone, but I don't know how to stop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And obviously, I'm just like, well, I would love to help you with that.
Sounds like
But
a free
hang on,
will.
I'm doom scrolling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like a free will issue. I'm not real sure.
Yeah. So teaching them basic things like, okay, here's the actual scientific facts and research, what your body and brain does if you walk for 40 minutes a day. Okay, here's what you can do for walking outside for 40 minutes a day. Look at, name the 5 things that you can see. What are the 4 things that you can smell? What are 3 things you might be able to touch? 2 things you can taste. 1 thing, there's so many different techniques of how to ground yourself.
Yeah.
So it's literally all over the place, but we can talk about it more in depth next time.
I like that. Yeah, we definitely will want to. But I do. So what got you? I'm going to surmise, but I want you to tell us what kind of pushed you into doing this. What made you want to do this?
My own shit, because I was so sick of feeling anxious and depressed. And what was that?
Somebody sliding a chair or something.
Or a ghost. Okay.
Not in daylight.
See, we need a shusher.
My own stuff.
Yeah, just so to deal with anxiety, depression, mental health, to understand more about your body. All those things. I'm assuming.
Okay. Well, also, I love to read.
Yeah. And mind, of course.
Yeah. I love to constantly. I'm reading a lot, so it's. I think, whether it's a story or it's somebody's life story or biography, whatever it is, I just, and obviously I think I owe the traveling to it a little bit, some too.
Yeah.
It's just, there was always just this constant thought in my mind, especially when I hit 30, it was, there's so much more to life than being constantly angry or anxious or depressed. I wanted more.
Yeah.
And the more and more people I talk to that come into the studio, it's insane that we're literally all experiencing the exact same thing. Like, everyone's going through the same shit, just no one talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't want to be like feeling stuck. I want to actually enjoy. And you said earlier you get a little too crunchy or hippie, but it's like there was
which you can't on this show, I promise you that.
There was a time that we did class outside, and I was dead serious. I was like, when was the last time any of you touched grass with your feet?
That is a really good question.
Think about if you were told you only
Haven't been
have
at Big Lake.
tomorrow. You're gonna
Yeah.
die tomorrow at 4:00.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
What the heck? You're going to sit there and think, well, geez, I need to go hug a tree. I'd love to watch the clouds for a minute. I need to go step in the grass.
Yeah.
Can I embrace like how great water feels of the ocean? Like there's so many things that like we're just skating by, not taking advantage of. And I know that sounds real crunchy, but that's the shit I do now.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's
you're
not
right.
popular, but
You don't think so?
I
Don't you think it's getting? I feel like I don't know. I got told the other day that I'm kind of an optimist, so maybe that's
positive,
what
you
the
are.
deal is. But I feel like just like when we were talking to Mark out there, about kind of your situation where you were done being in the city. I've had more and more people tell me the same thing, that they
Yeah.
wish that were from here that have left.
Yeah.
That wish they would come back to something like this, but they won't pull the trigger because they're so caught up in the money aspect of it, which
Oh,
is
next-
a whole different thing. But I
Yeah.
also think that people, I feel more and more, I feel like we're making a shift towards the things that our generation is looking for all the time. You know what I mean? And it's
What
very slow burn. Like there was
It
something else
is.
you were talking about. You were talking about getting the time you needed from your boss and company.
yeah.
Like we just went through Leadership Northwest.
Yeah, I saw your picture.
Yeah,
that
thanks.
was awesome.
And but there were so many people that were still working for like some smaller companies and some like some more traditional. Well, not that I don't. It's just we're getting larger, like
Yeah.
invest, but that we're still just like people don't get paternity leave, and people for men obviously maternity leave's obviously out, but just you can't if you need like mental health stuff, you can't get the time, or like you don't have hardly any time off, or there's no programs for, I just wish I could remember, just all these things that we're looking for to help take care of ourselves. And they are starting to become more prevalent in large companies with.
They are, and I'm trying. I think that's probably the one thing. It's been tough going around to all the small towns and being like,
'Cause
I
it's
want
not
to
everywhere
teach you
yet.
how to be mindful. And one of the things is you made an excellent point. When people won't pull the trigger on something certain, whether that's moving, whether that's changing a job. Somebody sits there and says, I am so sick and tired of coming home after work and instantly getting on my phone and sitting on the couch. I wish I could go for a walk. I wish that I could pick up gardening. I wish that I could go work out.
Yep.
But they don't know how to pull that trigger. And what that is part of the curriculum is we sit here and we analyze your repeated behavior pattern. Why are you constantly in this circle?
Yep.
Why can't you get out of it? I'm not perfect. I still fall into
Right.
that shit, but
Yeah.
I can recognize it now. I can recognize I'm starting to slow down. I'm starting to lose some habits here that I know are helpful for my body and my mind. Let's pick them back up. So that's a lot of stuff that we talk about too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good because, like, the other thing that I like. So, do you think there's like a balance of being really busy versus not busy, or is it better to just keep yourself doing? You know what I mean? Doing things that keep your mind working. Because I'm that type of person. It's very hard for me to sit down and do nothing. I'll get to points where I want to, and I will
Yeah.
do it until I'm done doing that, and then I'm back doing something. You know what I mean?
With Alex's help and with my chiropractor's help, Savannah, the stuff that I learned about my nervous system and the way I tick, I always used to be go, 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 go. I think that comes from mom and dad and Grandma Schaefer.
Yep.
They never sit down.
Never stop.
None of them. And so that was just kind of, obviously, that's your DNA. That's implemented in you. You see your parents do something, it trickles down. But I have noticed with myself, and as I've learned more about my body and my mind, is if my body is saying, you need a rest day, if I don't take that rest day, I know my next 2, 3, 4 days afterwards, I'm fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't make a decision to take a rest day. My body's just like, you aren't waking up.
That's fine. And that's when people should embrace those rest days. Like just because you're laying around today or you sleep in or you skip out on your workout, that doesn't deem you as lazy.
Right.
We need
Yeah.
that rest day just as much as you need your workout yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's something. I'm always busy, but if I'm screaming like I can't do anything today. I can't commit to anything today. I take that.
Yeah.
Because I'm a monster following if I don't. So, but yeah,
Where can people book yoga or these one-on-ones with you?
Well,
Oh,
okay, go ahead. Oh, yeah.
I have on the website, I have a Let's Work Together tab, and that just sits, you can go through that form.
what is the website?
You type in www.theashram.me.
.me.
.me.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there's a book now tab that you can book yoga in the 2 wellness rooms all the way up until August 1st, because in the month of August we're making those changes. Meetings are going to be held next week, so I can't announce anything yet. But then the other tab is Let's Work Together, and that kind of has like a paragraph on there that's like if you're a business, an organization, or just an individual that wants one-on-one work, whether that's private yoga, private mindfulness stuff. Like I said, the parenting stuff, I would love to talk to you guys about next time, because I think the schools especially would benefit very much from it. You can fill out that form and
Cool.
I just email you back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What else you got, big guy?
Not much, really. I mean, is there anything else you want to chat about? Or are you totally open? Like, sounds like you're open to come back, because
Heck yeah.
yeah. So I can't thank you enough for this, Lindsay. This was fantastic.
Yeah, it was fun.
I feel really bad because anytime anymore that we run into each other, it's at a wedding or something, and our children are running around. It's like, oh hey, Lindsay, oh hey, yeah, you
It's
know,
like,
and
hey,
you're just
what's
like,
up?
yeah, I'm trying to make sure my daughter doesn't kill herself,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or whatever. So I
She's
do really
feral.
appreciate it, and I do most definitely miss being able to hang out. I mean, I don't
I
want to go
know.
back to high
Oh.
school by any stretch of the imagination, but
No.
it's not like I don't think about all of you every so often.
Yeah.
So.
Amelia asked me the other day how old I was, and then she's like, "Oh, you're 22?" And I was like, "No." And I will be honest, I would never go back to 22
I wouldn't go there.
if somebody asked
20.
me.
I don't want to go backwards at all.
I love where I'm at.
22.
Yeah, that's probably where she got it. Was
That's
too. She's a
hilarious.
Swiftie, so
Yeah.
Well, that
That's-
makes 3 of us.
Simon asked Robbie how old she thought I was, and she said 50. So
I could see that.
It's beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm not. My hair's not holding up very good. Pretty well gray already.
No, this was fun. Thank you guys.
But no, I really appreciate it, Lindsay. It was great to talk to you. It takes a lot of guts to come on here and talk about the stuff that you did talk about, and I really appreciate you doing
Yeah.
Yes,
that,
thank
because we
you.
want to spend
Yeah.
more time
Yeah.
on these types of things.
We're
so-
big
Heck yeah.
advocates, I'd say.
Yes.
No, yeah, you guys were great. I'd come back in a heartbeat, and it was fun.
We will sure chat about it, and whenever you get up and going again, we'll all start trying to
Yeah,
plan
I'm honestly
out. So, because I don't want you, you know what I mean. I don't want to. But
I'm honestly looking forward to the break just from an actual space.
Mhm.
It's hard to run a space. So I'm excited to kind of go back to mobile work, and that's going to be like the mindfulness, parenting. You know, I've done some yoga classes for some athletics in Maryville, and the mobile work. I'm excited to kind of get back to that.
One question for you before we leave. We've been talking about this, but if we wanted to come over,
Yeah.
would you consider letting us do a show of like
Yeah.
going through everything you have to offer over there? and
Yeah,
letting us
that'd be
film?
fun.
Okay, yeah, we've talked about that, wanting to do
Yeah.
that.
That would be
and-
fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll record an
And we're gonna
episode
bring
if we get
Tim.
2 years free. No.
Yeah. Yes, we're bringing
Yeah.
Tim.
So he complains the whole time?
Yes, that's
Who's
why.
Tim?
He used to play
Complainy
guitar
pants?
for us. He's on here quite a bit.
He's going to probably watch you guys complain about him just now.
He'll probably hold the camera.
All shaky like.
Yeah, he'll definitely be breathing
or
heavy.
something.
End on that.
But yes, thank you, Lindsay. We sure
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Appreciate it.